Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you have had your lunch. Um, yes, the climate is as such. You might feel lazy, but it is your duty and it is my duty to fulfill. I am here to teach you, and it is your duty to responsibility to listen to the lecture session. Okay, so let us begin by introducing myself. My name is Dr. Vinuta P. Kunderi, Department of Studies and Research in English, Karnataka State Open University, Mysore. So today is our fourth session. So from morning, definitely you will be listening all Shakespearean criticism and sonnets and all. So today also, I mean, in this session, I'll be dealing with Shakespearean sonnets, initial Shakespearean sonnets, that is sonnet number 15, sonnet number 18, sonnet number 29, sonnet number 30, and sonnet number 71. So totally today I'll be dealing with five sonnets in detail. Okay, please listen to it. Don't get confused because I'm discussing whole lot of sonnets for the session because Shakespearean sonnet cannot be discussed within a stipulated time. It needs more and more time to understand Shakespearean sonnet because of the schedule is as such. So I need to cut short to some certain extent, but I'll try to do complete justice for the given session as well as given syllabi for me to teach. Okay, so let me begin by introducing the poet, well-known poet. He is considered father of English literature. So for any non-literature student, if you ask who what do you know about English literature, they simply say that they know poems, sonnets, drama of William Shakespeare, because William Shakespeare, the English literature starts from William Shakespeare and his sonnets. Okay, but you might have come across his sonnets from your school days itself. So let me begin by introducing William Shakespeare. Who is William Shakespeare? William Shakespeare is father of English literature, and he is also a court poet. He has written a number of tragedies. He is well known for tragedies, comedies, dramas altogether, but he is equivalently well known for his sonnets. Okay, he has written 154 sonnets. He has written 154 sonnets, which is broadly divided into two categories. Okay, sonnets is entire sonnets is broadly divided into two categories. It is not, this category is not done by William Shakespeare. His critics, who are ardently studying, doing research on his sonnets, his literary works, they have conveniently divided into two. The first, so from sonnet number 1 to 126, Shakespeare deals with fair youth. Okay, his name is unknown. The name of the fair youth. He simply calls his friend. He considers fair youth as his friend, best friend, good friend, just friend. Okay, honest friend, loyal friend. And from 127 till 154 sonnets, it speaks about the Dark Lady. Okay, some critics are of, they are trying to investigate who are these two people, who is fair youth and who is dark lady. They are still trying to find out who these people, but still they have doubted, they have come across two important names for who is fair youth and who is dark lady. They predict that fair youth is Earl of Southampton. In the initial printings, you might have come across the initials WH. Okay, you have come across you have come across HW. Okay, HW, Henry Wriothesley. Okay, he is said to be the Earl of Southampton, and the lady is predicted to be Miss Mary Fitton. Okay, she is the maid of honor to Queen Elizabeth. So people are of certain assumptions. Okay, it's quite normal for the literary research students to come up with certain conclusions, but we are not sure. The literature doesn't give you exact proofs to say that these are the exact people who William Shakespeare is talking about. So he has that sort of dilemma in the arena of sonnets. Okay. So what people, what critics say about the criticism about the sonnets, the critical aspects of sonnet? That is, the people say that sonnets of Shakespeare, like his tragedies, are a revelation, a commentary on all things, a mirror held by the soul and reproducing all its phases. They do not date from any one year, though most of them must have been written before 1592 and 1598, but represent the changing modes of the poet over a long period. So, people have traced the year in which Shakespeare has written the sonnet. It is from 1592 to 1598. So this long time, you can also see is when you read the sonnets of Shakespeare, you can see there is a shift in each sonnet. There is a shift of mood, shift of ideas, shift of emotions from one sonnet to another. You will see when we discuss in detail all the five sonnets, which I just numbered it out. You will understand what are the different ideas which is put forth to the readers by William Shakespeare. Okay, so when we look at the stylistic of Shakespearean sonnet, you can see there is the tone of the sonnets is sober, very plain. There is no emotional, what to say. There is no much of ups and downs in the emotions of the poet or the speaker. There is a very sober tone. The tone is very sober, full of unrest, of gloomy reflection darkening into despair. Okay, so these are some of the aspects which you see in Shakespearean sonnets. When it comes to the common theme of Shakespearean sonnets, what are the common themes which he deals in his sonnets? So he says he tried to show a sense of profound disgust for a world where evil overcomes good. He's a Shakespeare also through his sonnets, through his literary works, had foreshadowed the nature of people during Elizabethan time. Okay, when yesterday when we were discussing about the Restoration comedy, we have come across the personality traits of people who are there during restoration period. Okay, they are pretentious. Whereas coming to Shakespearean sonnet, you can see he's not through sonnets. He is only talking about fair youth. Despite, you can also see the glimpses of people who are staying in and around of Shakespeare or fair youth. Okay, you can understand. So it foreshadows a sense of profound disgust for a world where evil overcomes good. This is the important theme in Shakespearean sonnets. So, what is a sonnet? You have to understand the genre before understanding what Shakespeare has written in the sonnets. Okay, you have to understand what is a sonnet. Sonnet is a poem, stylistic of a poem written in only 14 lines. Okay, 14 lines poetry is considered to be a sonnet. So sonnet is broadly divided into two. One is Shakespearean sonnet and Petrarchan sonnet. Sonnets written by Shakespeare is considered to be Shakespearean sonnet. Sonnets written by Petrarch, okay, Petrarch is also a poet, he is also a writer, is considered to be a Petrarchan sonnet. Petrarch has also written n number of sonnets. Okay, so how you are differentiating between two sonnets, that is Shakespearean sonnet and Petrarchan sonnet. Shakespearean sonnets have a different stylistic. What is the difference? Shakespearean sonnet has three quatrains and a couplet. What does a quatrain mean? Quatrain means four-line stanza. Okay, there is a difference between paragraph and a stanza. Paragraphs are seen in prose. Now, stanzas are seen in poetry. Okay, four-line stanza is a quatrain, three quatrains and a couplet. Couplet is two-line stanza which is compiled, and Shakespeare follows this stylistic, three quatrain and a couplet. And Petrarchan has a different style where his poetry is divided into two sections. One is octave and sestet. Octave is 8-line stanza and sestet is 6-line stanza. Okay, I'll repeat. Petra's Shakespearean sonnet consists of three quatrains and a couplet, and Petrarchan sonnet consists of octave and a sestet. This is the major difference in Shakespearean sonnet and Petrarchan sonnet. And Shakespearean sonnet Shakespeare follows his stylistic of Shakespearean sonnet in all his sonnets. There is no change in the stylistic. He has simply followed three quatrain and a couplet stylistic in entire his sonnets. And he was also famous for rhyme scheme. Okay, his sonnets, all his sonnets have a following a rhyme scheme: AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. Okay, this is the major stylistic which is followed by Shakespeare. The first line and the third line goes together, and the second line and fourth line goes together. They rhyme. The end word of the line gets rhymed. So this stylistic is followed in other two quatrains and a couplet. So, this is the broader overview of Shakespearean sonnets, without which you cannot understand Shakespearean sonnets. So, today, as I told you, I'll be dealing five sonnet at a stretch because it is important, and in examination they'll ask questions related to sonnets, and you have annotations. Okay, you have annotations. Henceforth you are supposed to know each and every line of the sonnet, where because of the time constraint I cannot read the each and every line of the sonnet, but I'll give you an overview of the sonnet, where your homework is you need to read the uh, each and every line of the sonnet, because it will be asked in annotations and even in question and answers. Okay, so the five sonnets which I am discussing today is sonnet number 50, entitled When I Consider Everything That Grows. Sonnet number 18, Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day. Sonnet number 29, When in Disgrace with Fortune and Men's Eyes. Sonnet number 30, Went to the Sessions of Sweet Silent Thought. Sonnet number 71, No longer mourn for me when I am dead. Shakespeare did not give any titles to his sonnets, but the critics, for the convenience of making difference, instead of giving numbers, they have brought in the first line of every sonnet as the title. Okay, they consider every first line of the sonnet as the title to the sonnet. Henceforth, every sonnet of Shakespeare has a title. Okay, so in a nutshell, if I want to speak about the differences between the sonnets, because as I told you at the earliest session, earlier word or earlier sentence, I mentioned to you that Shakespearean sonnet is divided into two, that is from 126 to 1 to 126. So all these five sonnets which I just numbered and told you are dealing about his friend fair youth. Okay, the unknown person, no unknown, no, he doesn't have any name. Okay, so these sonnets are based on his friend. So the first sonnet, that is where I consider everything that grows, is a sonnet about procreation. Okay, it's a sonnet about procreation. I'll give you a nutshell so that you can understand, and I'll later on I'll deal with it in detail. Okay, the speaker here alludes for immortality and impossibility of gaining it. Okay, immortality and age doesn't stop, but as time goes it moves on. So the poet is desiring and he has a wish that his friend should be remembered all through the decades. So you can see that similar point of view in all the sonnets. He keeps remembering through his sonnet, he wants his sonnets to be remembered in his friend's name. So that was the personal connection between these two people. So he says that as you don't have that power of immortality, you can create the similar creature. You can create a new version of yourself in the form of a child so that you will be remembered in the face of your child, the appearance of your child. So, this aspect is being discussed in the sonnet number 15 entitled Where I when I consider everything that grows. The second sonnet which I am discussing, that is sonnet number 18, Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? It's a beautiful sonnet, very much acclaimed sonnet, and it speaks about a fair youth, and a poet is questioning to his friend, asking a question to his friend, saying that, Shall I compare you to a summer's day? Summer's day in England is a beautiful weather. Okay, he's comparing his friend to a summer's day which is beautiful, which is temperate, which is moderate. These words you can find it in the sonnet lines. But he says that the nature and the beauty of summer day is not equivalent to the fair complexion of the fair youth. He dismisses the beauty of the season. He says that the summer cannot be equivalent. Summer, the nature of summer, or the characteristics of summer cannot be equivalent to mm, uh, the fair youth. Okay, he is of that opinion, and he says that the eternal is a friend is being remembered in the eternal lines of Shakespeare's poetry. And this aspect is found in sonnet number 18, Shall I Compare Thee? Sonnet number 29, that is when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, is here in this sonnet, sonnet number 29, he is comparing himself to his friend. The life of poet is compared to life of his friend fair youth. He seems to that he thinks that his fair youth life of fair youth is superior. Which is content. He has fortune. He has good friends. That is what he means. The tone you presume or you think that poet might be somewhere bitter for the fortunes which his friend for the friends which his friend has. No, he is simply comparing a poet's life, not Shakespeare's life. Poet life in Elizabethan period was not respected. The profession of dramatist was not treated as a respectable profession henceforth he thinks that he compares his own life with his friend's life. Hence he says that you have everything respectable, and I am missing it. Okay, he says that he thinks that the poet thinks that he is terribly lonely and penniless. He doesn't have money because dramatists were not paying huge amount of money. They were given very less amount of money, and they were not having a decent life. Okay, the money which they are earning is not providing them a decent life. That is what they mean. So he compares, the poet compares his own life with that of his friend's life. Okay, coming to sonnet number 30, went to the sessions of sweet silent thought, is the poet grieves about his past life, the lost life. He is remembering his past life because he has missed many things. Life, as I told you, time stops for none. It doesn't stops for none. Okay, even though we wish to stop time for even for a fraction of second, it is not possible. Times it moves ahead, and we have to follow the time of the day, time of our fate, timing of our chances, everything. So we abide by the rules and regulations of the time. Okay, so here the poet grieves for the things which he lost in the past, and those memories and those thoughts are troubling him. Okay, his mind is troubled. Okay, memory of his dead friends and long forgotten sorrows is bothering the poet. Coming to the sonnet number 71, which is supposed to be the last sonnet for me to discuss, no longer more for me when I am dead. As the title itself says, that the poet does not want his friend fair youth to mourn for his death. He want his friend to be friend to. He's giving instructions. The poet is giving instruction to fair youth that till the time the bell rings, means the church bell rings, only till that time mourn for me or grieve for me. After that, you please don't remember me for any bad thing. Okay, now in the initial, before 70 sonnets, you come across that poet is remembering the his friend. But in sonnet number 71, poet is telling to fair youth that you don't remember me, you don't grieve for my death. Even though I die, don't keep remembering me and feel sorry about me, feel bad about me, and don't miss me for the things which I have done. Instead, be happy and move according towards the timing. Okay, as time takes you to the path, time takes you, you move ahead. That is the opinion which he brings out in the sonnet number 71. So this is the nutshell aspect discussed in sonnet number 15, 18, 29, 30, and 71. So I think I've brought in some differences in all the sonnets. I've put forth what is there in each sonnet in one single line, because you tend to get confused. Okay, just to avoid the confusion, initially I am bringing out the different aspects discussed in each of the sonnets. So let me begin with sonnet number 15, when I consider everything that grows. So here in the poem, poet personifies time and decay. Okay, time and decay is being personified. What is personification? Personification is a way of giving life to the lifeless object. It is a technique of comparison, giving life to the lifeless object. So poet is making time and decay, they is giving the human entities the features of humans, and they too are discussing. Okay, they are debating with each other, they are sharing opinions with between each other. So what he says that the time Shakespeare tells the fair youth that see age is even though it is just a number, it doesn't stop counting. It keeps counting. It gets add on. Okay, age get add on, days get add on, and one or the other day humans attain death, and after death we get decay. So human should leave some entity, some identity behind, so that you are remembered in future. Okay, you have to make a mark in your life. As you are alive, you have to make a mark in your own life so that human remember. So poet is giving the guidelines to his friend, saying that see anyway time passes, age passes, so we'll attain death and we'll attain decay. So you have to attain procreation, means you have to give life to the similar being, that is child, so that they will be remembered. So through that you can attain immortality. Shakespeare simply wants his friend to be immortal, nothing more than that. If he has to be remembered, he has to attain immortality, so that he'll live his life till the world gets attains end. Okay, till the world attains end, till the time his friend needs to be remembered. So here poet is sharing his thoughts about growth and brevity of life with the fair youth. Throughout the 14 sonnets, before this is 15th sonnet, all the early sonnets have come before this one. The speaker chastises him not having children. So he keeps questioning that you have to have a children's, because age is going, you are attaining death, you will be decayed, you are not remembered, you are not making mark in the life. So the speaker would like or create a new version of himself in his child. So fair youth, by giving birth to a child, he can create a new version. All the qualities which fair youth has will be definitely carried to the next generation, that is through his child. So the argument goes like everything in the world holds perfection but a little movement. This line is in the sonnet, holds perfection but a little movement. So he says that we need to go by the timing. The stars in secret influence comment. The stars control everything in the speaker version of the world, because star represents God, stars represent the God's creation. So the sonnet, the poet keep repeatedly using the image, the star. Okay, just to give connection to the creation of God. So he compares men to plants. They grow and are then steamed by the same sky. His youthful beauty is not going to last forever. He, like all other men, is eventually going to die. So that is what the poet says. Eventually, people will die. You have to do your uh, work, that is, giving life to the other creature. The last stanza of the poem deals with the timing, where the time and decay debates. In his mind, he can see time debating with decay over how to change your day of youth to sullied night. Old age is coming for him. It's a force that can't be stopped. Shakespeare personifies time and decay by giving them the ability to make decisions as if they are human beings. And lastly, when time takes away, the speaker recreates the youth through these poems. This is another way, aside from having a child, that youth might gain immortality. So, not only poets, at last, in the couplet, he comes with an opinion that the sonnets, the poem lines which is created by the poet, is also, it recreates the youthness in the fair youth, and more than the child, this lines will give immortality to the fair youth. So this is the element which is discussed in sonnet number 50. Coming to sonnet number 18, sonnet number 18 is titled as Shall I Compare Thee? So, poet here at the very beginning line of the sonnet, it simply asks, leaves a question in the mind of the reader: Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Okay, thee is you. So he is asking fair youth because in England, the poet is comparing his friend to a season. So the season means nature. He says he speaks about the complexion of the sun. He says that the poet says that my friend's complexion is much brighter than the brightness, golden complexion of uh, what to say, the poor sun. Okay, I think in previous session Madhura ma'am spoke, might have been spoke about sonnet, but she has dealt with some other sonnets, not the ones which I am discussing. Okay, I am now discussing about sonnet number 18. Shall I compare thee? Okay, to this session is completely for the sonnets. Okay, sonnet number 15, 18, uh, 29, 30, and 71. Okay, I have made myself clear. Okay, even Madhura madam has discussed about sonnets, but she has not discussed the things which I am discussing. I hope I have made it clear. Okay, so here in sonnet number 18, the poet says that the perpetual beauty is contrary to the nature's law to refrain from reproduction. So I was telling about the complexion which the poet is dealing. He compares the complexion of his friend, fair youth, to the complexion of the sun, and he says that my friend's nature is more moderate and temperate to that of the summer's day. Summer's days, which is pleasant in England, it is not like India. Okay, summer's day is much more pleasant, but the poet comes to an agreement saying that my friend's nature, my friend's complexion, my friend's behavior, my friend's love is much more valuable, special than that of summer day or summer season. So that's what he speaks. So every beauty declines. Here in this sonnet also he says that every beauty declines due to chance and or nature's changing course trim. And he also says that the beauty of his friend will enjoy eternal summer. That is the main motive of Shakespeare. He want to see his friend in an eternal line or eternal stances. Time and defense of it are a major theme of some of Shakespearean sonnets. Coming to the concluding lines of sonnet number 18, the poet can gives an eternal life to his friend through his verses, that is, poetry lines. As long as people live, poetry will remain, and it gives permanence to his beauty. The last two lines of the sonnet are an expression of the Renaissance faith in the immortality of poetry. So, through the sonnet lines, what Shakespeare has written, uh, through those lines, the poet is trying to give the eternity to his fair friend, the fair youth. So this is what the longevity, the eternity, immortality is being discussed in sonnet number 18, and through the beauty of summer's day is comparing the beauty of the fair youth. Okay, coming to the third sonnet which is supposed to be discussed now, that is sonnet number 29. Coming to the sonnet number 29, entitled When in Disgrace with Fortune and Men's Eyes. This sonnet deals with the comparison, okay, deals with the poet who compares his life with that of his friend's life, that is fair youth. Fair youth, he keeps remembering, and he says that, see, you have a beautiful life. Beautiful life, not he is smarter person, even though yes, he is a smarter person. He says that you have a beautiful life in terms of fortune and friends. The life without friends is it's not good, or life without money or fortune is, it is also very disastrous. So the poet says that the fair youth life is beautiful because he has fortune and friends. But he compares his friend life with himself, and he says that my life is not beautiful because I am lonely, I don't have friends, and even I don't have fortune to lead a decent life. He says, that is what he says. Somewhere between the lines, he says that in the initial lines, I say, when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast says, state and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate. See, he's cursing his fate because he doesn't have people around him. He's all alone because one of his bestest friend is no more, or he is not within the periphery of the poet. So he feels alone. He doesn't know what to do. So he says in a very smoothful way, he is speaking, he is showing his distress in his life. The readers should presume that poet was on a provincial tour. That is the tone, that is the image which is created by the poet at the very initial lines of sonnet number 29. The first two quatrains portray the distressing situation of the poet, whereas his friend was blessed with fortune and friends. Therein, however, no tone of bitterness or any implications of shame in his expression of a sense of extreme discouragement in life. So he is worried he doesn't have, and he also, the line says, curse my fate. He is cursing, the poet is cursing his fate because he holds himself, he is holding responsibility of his life for all this, because he is outcasted within the fellow being, is outcasted because he is not a rich person, he is not a intelligent person. Dramatists are not treated as good people or intelligent people or educated people. They are it was equivalent to the menial jobs, okay. So the poet is sad and dispirited. He remembers noble friend. Okay, he remembers noble friend just to enlighten or elevate his happiness, to make himself happy. He compares his he remembers the bird skylark. It is singing on its own. The birds sing for their own happiness. It doesn't seems to ask for any reputation. It wants to sing, and it simply sings. Okay, okay, but yes, I am just reading your messages. I'll just clarify with okay, Madhura madam. But this thing was allotted for me. Let me check. Okay, I'll after the class I'll be check. I'll deal. I'll talk to her. But let me finish my sessions. Okay. Uh, Poets is happy like a skylark. Okay, poet is very much happy like a skylark. He is happy like a skylark which sings wonderfully at break of day. Like that bird, he will disregard his distress and sing at the gate of heaven. So he sees, he imagines that the bird is singing happily. It's no one can snatch the happiness of the bird. It simply sings for. um Yes, I'll do it. Let me finish. I have not yet reached sonnet number 30. I'm still discussing sonnet number 21. I'll be speaking. Okay. Please leave questions after some time. Okay, because it will be disrupting. Okay, not disrupting. It will deviate my line of thought. Okay, and is by looking at the skylark singing, his mood changes, the poet mood changes, and he is in the state of absolute joy and merriment now. The poet will not exchange the state of joy with the crown of queen, king. The concluding couplet bring the sonnet to effective climax. So the moment the poet sees the singing of the skylark, the flying of the skylark, the freedom which the skylark is enjoying, the mood of the poet elevates, and he compares his life. Why man should grieve for the things which are already happened? But we are, when we look at the past, it will only give you the sadness within you. It will build sadness within you. It is the only best way to leave behind, to elevate, to make ourselves happy, is that we need to leave behind the past and look forward. We should see the thing which are who are down to us. Okay, we are in a better position. So Shakespeare does the same thing, and he compares his own life with the skyline. And moving to moving to sonnet number 30. Sonnet number 30 has a carpe diem theme. Okay, what is carpe diem? Carpe diem is a Latin word which means seize the day. Okay, seize the day, which means to say that live for the present. Don't live for the past. Don't live for think about the future. Present is at your hand. The present movement is at your hand, and you need to enjoy. You need to be practical. Okay, the simple question you need to ask yourself is why man suffers. That is the primordial question of life. Okay, why do man suffer? For no reasons. They'll be suffering inwardly. They feel depressed, they feel anxiety, because people mind always lives in the past. Whatever has already happened, people will be thinking. So people should always live at the present moment and don't think about the future. Whatever should happen will always happen. You don't have any control over the fate or timing. So whatever happens for the betterment, and you need to have that sense. So here, poet is trying to bring in that concept. Man has to live at the moment. But here, poet is also doing the same mistake in sonnet number 30. Okay, he says that I am living in the past. I am suffering. My mind is in pain because I am living in the past. I am thinking about the friends who are already dead. I am thinking about many things. Poet doesn't disclose what is the proper reason for his suffering. In sonnet number 30, went to the sessions of sweet silent thought. Okay, he is not giving any proper reasons. He simply says that I am suffering. My mind is sorrowful because I have thinking about the past. So it describes thoughts of past griefs and losses. The poet thinks of that, and the thought of his friend consoles him. Okay, at the third quatrain of the sonnet, you can see that the poet feels consoled. He feels better. He feels happy at the thought of his friend. The moment he thinks of his friend, he is happy. So the thoughts and memory of dead people, friends, dead friends, makes were making poet unhappy and it was bothering him profusely. So, in the first few lines, first few two quatrains, the poet speaks about his distressed situation. Poet recalls to mind memories of the past. He sighs for the things he sought, which he never achieved. He sweeps for the things he has lost. All this creates a mode of nostalgic sadness. Once regained, the poet regrets the loss of things he loved or of many a vanished sight. Long forgotten sorrows come up again. This bring back the thought of earlier friends now dead. Expressions such as cancelled woe, vanished sight, weep afresh, precious friends hide in death's dateless night, such as the poet in Reminiscence. Okay, so poet is quite disturbed. He is remembering many things where he cannot have control of. Okay, certain moments man doesn't have control. It simply goes on, and we have to console ourselves because we need to forgive ourselves and we need to forget ourselves. Otherwise, the rest of the days will be disastrous. So, poet is doing the same mistake. Grieving our past, the poet can tell over the sad accounts of sorrow already grieved for. And for those events, he is already grieving from past many years, from past many days. He is feeling sad. And even today, if we feel sad about the past days, then what are the moments which we relish? Okay, so in the third quatrain, poet says that we are simply grieving for the things which are on daily basis. Past is okay, but on daily basis, we there is no need to grieve. There is no need to do think about those aspects, okay, of which makes you sorrow. So in the last quatrain and the couplet, the poet says that the moment he sees, the moment he remembers his friend, poet feels very happy, very delighted, very light in his mind and body. His heart becomes very light. He remembers his friend and gets consoled. His losses are restored. Okay, so whatever he feels lost, it is restored by his friend, and his sorrows are over by thought of his friend. It brings back happier state of mind than he can imagine. So he didn't imagine that by the thought of his friend he could really console himself. So these are the things which you find in the sonnet number 30. The very important line that I think they may ask you in the exam, the line is, but if the while I think on thee, dear friends, all losses are restored and sorrows end. So this sonnet, the line, the couplet line, the poet says that we need to. The moment I remember my friend name, my heart felt lighted. So this is the element of carpe diem. Carpe diem means to live for the present moment. Don't think about the past or future. Living mm, uh, for the moment is very much important. Coming to sonnet number 71, it gives you a different understanding of life. Okay, different understanding. Maybe you might be feel surprised why Shakespeare is telling such a word. Okay, there is a different ideologies, different ideas coming in sonnet number 71. The theme of the sonnet number 71 is death, afterlife, mourning, and relationships. There is a beautiful relationship between the poet and what to say, his friend Fairy. The poet is so see pure emotion of the poet. He says that after my death, you are not supposed to grieve for me. I don't think any person will say so in present scenario. But Shakespeare in Elizabethan period asked his friend not to grieve for his death, and he also gives an exception. If you want to grieve, if you want to mourn for me, you can mourn. But till the time the bell rings. What bell? Church bell. Okay, that is the ritual which they follow. Okay, so till the time the bell rings, you need to mourn, and after that, you are not supposed to do so. So that is the disclaimer which the poet gives for his friend fair youth. So that is the idea which is discussed in the poem. The speaker tells the youth directly that he doesn't want the young man to spend a long time mourning him. As soon as the bell are done ringing, he should stop feeling sad. Okay? The speaker does not want the youth to feel any sorrow at all, even over his death. He goes on to tell the youth that it's important for the youth to stop loving him after he is dead too. Otherwise, people are going to be able to use that love against him. There must be a reason for the poet to making the fair youth to stop grieving for him. There is a reason. Gives the reason. He doesn't give the exact reason, but he is giving a reason, sumptuous reason not to grieve for him. He says that people will make use of that emotion against our own self. Okay, so henceforth people say that don't be emotional fools, don't be so inquisitive, don't be so soft hearted, don't be so sensitive. It will always be disastrous to our own self. So Percy, why Shakespeare is relatable to till 21st century, relatable to we human beings because of such emotions. Okay, otherwise uh, Shakespeare might not be read in universities, well-known universities. Shakespeare is relatable just because of that. He says, he gives reason, sumptuous, reasonable reason, because he says that don't grieve for me. If you are sensitive enough about my death, people will make use of that emotion to go against me or go against your own self. It will be dangerous for we both. That is the idea. It's going to happen one day as the focus on time. See the way of telling to fair youth. He says that see somewhere, someday or the other, death will come. Death will reach to us, and we can't escape death. Okay, we can't escape death. We will attain death, and we have to be courageous enough to accept the fact that people will attain death. Okay, immortality, eternal thing, it's left to the divine. We can't judge, but we can predict, we can hope, we can have hope saying that these things must happen to us, but in reality it is not in the hands of the human beings. Okay. uh, yes, but the youth should only mount as long as the surly sullen bell, which makes the speaker's funeral in ringing. This brief period of mourning is more than enough for the speaker, who cares more for the youth's happiness than his own memory. So he says that grieving is simply wail. Okay, wail means morally bad. He simply is crying for the person who is dead is simply waste of time. Instead, the time from his death till the time the bell rings, bell stop ring. Till the time you have ample time to grieve. But after that, it is morally bad to grieve for the person. The speaker tells the youth that in the future, when the speaker is dead and the youth is reading the lines that the speaker wrote, he hopes he won't remember him. Okay, he hopes, speaker himself, the poet himself hopes that his friend shouldn't remember me. He remember, okay, if he wants to remember, he can remember while reading my lines, poetry lines. After that, he is not supposed to do anything with his emotions, go wrong in his emotional stances. Rather, the youth should take simple pleasures in the lines themselves without worrying about who wrote them or where this person is now. See, remember, after reading the lines, poetry lines of the poet Shakespeare, you shouldn't wonder for who this person, where is this person, because it happens. The dear ones, um uh, the person after he's dead, we'll search for him because he's so dear to us. Okay, he is so dear to us. Henceforth, we try to find. So he does not. The poet does not want fair youth to do the same. Okay, to do he simply read the lines, poetry lines, and stop worrying. Instead, he should feel pleasure by reading the lines. He should feel pleasure, and that's it. He want the fair youth to be feel happy after reading the lines of the poet. I'm coming to the last quatrain. The poet says, poet thinks of the youth and tells him that when he is dead, the youth is reading this verse or this particular poem, that he should not rehearse or speak the speaker's name. It should be lost in the clay as the speaker body. Okay, the lines, after reading the lines, what should the fair youth do? He should leave behind the emotions which is imbibed in that poetry lines or the verses line, just like his dead body. And as it becomes clay, so the dead body will attain clay, it will amalgamate with the sand. Just like that, the verses which is written for the fair youth should get amalgamated with the clay, just like the clay. Okay, so let the love the youth holds for him decay along with the speaker's corpse, speaker's dead body. Coming to the last two lines of the couplet, sonnet number 71, if the speaker says that if the youth doesn't do this, then the world will use the speaker against him in one way or the other, which Shakespeare does not make clear. The speaker will be used to mock the youth or control him in some way. This is something that the speaker would like to avoid for the sake of any man. So the poet want to safeguard the fair youth from many problems, many socio-political problems, because if because the poet is signifying the Earl of Southampton, signifying some other Earl, it will be a political issue. So, in a secrecy, poet is trying to say to the person, the concerned person, that to safeguard yourself from the socio-political economic issues, you need to have control over your emotions. There is no need to grieve, no need to grieve for longer time. Even though you want to grieve, there is a timing. Even you remember me for good things, for the love which we share, it has a stipulated time. There is no need to grieve for longer time than necessary. Okay, so these are some of the aspects which is discussed in sonnet number 71. So I have made sure that what are the slight differences which the sonnet carry. So I have discussed sonnet number 15, 18, 29, 30, and 71. And sonnet number 15 deals with the procreation. Sonnet number 18 deals with the comparison. Okay, the poet wants to compare his friend to a summer's day. Okay, and sonnet number 29 deals with terrible loneliness which the poet suffers, and he says that his friend has everything. He has friends and he has fortune, whereas the poet doesn't inherit any of these items. And coming to sonnet number 30, when to the sessions of sweet silent thought, he grieves, the poet grieves about the past events which he come across in his life, and he doesn't want the fellow friend to do the same. And the moment he remembers his name of his friend, and his mood gets better. And coming to the last sonnet, sonnet number 71, no longer mourn for me when I am dead, the poet requests his friend fair youth not to grieve for the death of his friend when he is dead. Instead, because he has a reason, if you grieve for me, people will make use of that emotion against us. Okay, it may be poet or it might be fair youth. So for their own betterment, it is not necessary for him to grieve the poet's death for longer time. So I have made it clear. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, again, we are going to meet and discuss the Greek dramas, and I'll meet tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.